Why be easy when you can just die? Woo! I'm Chewy Mew, and welcome to my channel, but more specifically, welcome to another Chewy Mew video, where in the past video, I showed off my custom Spider-Man, or Scarlet Spider, using the Daredevil body from the Fearsome Foes box, or no, what's it called? Urban Legends box from ToyBiz, and I said he doesn't have ankle pivots, so I was going to maybe try doing it. Look at that pose there. I just did that first try. Just put him up here, bang, standing on his toes, and it worked really good. So I already went and I cut the plastic off to give this guy an ankle pivot on this foot, and look how good that ankle pivot is compared to this one that kind of sucks. So the way I did this is really scary to do, and I would not recommend doing this unless you're okay with potentially damaging the figure permanently, which sounds very dramatic. And that is, you take some sort of knife tool like this, and then you stick it in the joint here, and then you kind of... Oh, another thing I want to say, this is really important here. See how this figure has a sort of ankle joint that you can see plastic in it, lets it move? You can do it only if the figure looks like that. So a figure, for example, the first ever Spider-Man Classics figure, he doesn't have an ankle pivot at all, and you see he has wiggle, but that's because it's loose, but you cannot give an ankle pivot. He needs to have like a gap in the plastic here, and he doesn't have it, so do not do it. Definitely don't do it with any of these Spider-Man Classics Series 1 figures, because none of them have the correct joints. A figure that does have it, for example, is the ToyBiz Kraven the Hunter, which I cut his joints like this too. Another example you cannot do this with is a figure like, I was about to say Stiltman. Silver Web Armor Spider-Man. Sinister Six Spider-Man does have these joints, and I did cut off some plastic here. You can't do it with like this custom Prowler figure. And some figures you definitely can't do it with, like Hobgoblin here, because he has extremely good ankle pivots. Like, look how good those ankle pivots are. Yeah, so this is extremely situational, and the way I would say testing it is take some kind of like needle-looking tool. This is not a needle tool, but kind of stick it in here, and if you feel like you can put it in there a little bit, then it'll work. And then you want to take your knife, you want to push it into the groove here, and then you want to slowly push it until you can get the plastic to cut like this. And then bang, so you can just cut that part off here. Remove that plastic, and then you can push it, and you can see the ankle pivot will go down. You can see how extreme these ankle pivots are. Yeah, he can almost do perfect splits with these ankle pivots. That rhymed. You can see, you can get him in a crazy wide stance with these ankle pivots here. So, I think ToyBiz on figures like these, they did add an ankle pivot, which does work like this, but it's not really enough to make a difference. The only downside you get is your ankle pivots will be a bit loose here. But see, it's loose, but it's not. He's not going to fall over from looseness. He'll keep his place there. So yeah, yeah, that's pretty much how you add ankle pivots to a figure. But you have to make sure that they already have ankle pivot style articulation. Like, you can't just take a figure with no ankle pivots and do this, because you will ruin it. So make sure you check and see if the figure applies to it. Series, I think 3 or 4 Wolverine here. He does not have the joint. Like, you see it wiggles, but that's because it's loose. And this figure, it's also so tight to get the joint in there, so please, for your own good, do not use it, like, again, with this Wolverine figure. The Series 1 Captain America, he does have ankle pivots, so don't mess with him. Some figures, like, you can see, like, Hydra Man here has ankle pivots, so you don't need to do it to this guy either. So yeah, don't risk it with figures that already have a good ankle pivot, or figures that don't, or if they don't have an ankle joint, definitely don't try this. But yeah, that's pretty much all for this video. Let me know what you think about... let me know if you think this is a cool thing you can do, because to me that looks really cool. You can always get his feet touching there. Yeah, so just make sure you are aware if the figure does, if their ankle does pivot slightly, then, you know, try it. But if you try forcing the tool and you feel like, oh, it's not going to go, and then just stop and don't do it. Some figures, the ankle pivots are not, you can't get an ankle pivot, but some of them you can. It's basically improving an ankle pivot that kind of sucks. But either way, that's over this video. Let me know if you tried this. Let me know if you would risk it, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'll use this tool, because this is the tool that I used. Wow.